guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Keely and we're gonna watch some history videos today. Before I forget, I've had a few people message me and leave comments asking if my daughter Badger has a Christmas list or like a Amazon list or something. And she does. She has a Christmas list. So I'll leave that in the description if anybody wants to check it out, have a look at it. You guys know I'm on dialysis for kidney failure. So I really every year is so stressful for me because I have to live on disability. It's terrible. And so I just want to give her a good Christmas. So I've had some people ask if she had a list. And so, yeah. Anyway, I'll link it down in the comments. You guys know I never ask for anything. So I just want to give her a good Christmas. So no obligation. Just thought is the best way to get that answer out to people. So yeah. Anyway, I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving. I know I've done one video since Thanksgiving, but I've been slacking so bad. But yeah, I've been on this World War II hyperfixation. I don't know. You know me. I'll get in my history hyperfixations, and I'm going through. I can't pronounce it. Is it called Alphasarin? I can't say it. The female SS guards, like the camp guards and stuff. I read an article about a girl from actually my state. She studied at KU, and she was doing a really interesting doctorate study on the women who worked at the concentration camps. And I just happened to stumble upon it, and I was like, dang, this is actually really interesting. So I've been kind of just reading about it, and it's something that I'm a little curious about because you don't really hear a lot about women and their role in Nazi Germany as much. I mean, you hear about Ava Braun and Magda Goebbels and things like that, but you don't hear about the women who, worked at the camps and who were doing the secretary work and all of that. And it's just something kind of interesting to me because I personally don't understand. If I saw that going on, because they did say that, there weren't actual, there were instances of women who were I'm not comfortable with this, and they nothing happened to them. Nothing happened to them. There was one woman, I think, after the Stutthof trials, she was the only one that didn't get hung. And it was because when she got I don't know if she left or she got fired or something, but she just wasn't cool with it because she was trained as a nurse, and she's I don't like all this killing. So, she didn't have to do it, and she ended up getting a little, I don't even think she got, I don't know, she might have gotten some prison time. I don't know, but she did not end up going to the gallows like the other ladies did. And I think that's really fascinating because, people are oh, well, they were just scared they were going to get thrown in the camps too. Actually, not so fast. Anyway, so that's something that I'm just kind of interested in. I've been reading about, and I found this video on this page called Der Kommandant, and it's the English one. They do a lot of World War II videos, and I think that's pretty fun. Let me start recording this before I forget. Anyway, yeah, I like this channel. So they had a video about women's role during their roles in the Third Reich, and I just thought that would be something interesting to watch today. You guys know me, I love my history videos. I want to do more of them. If you guys like the history videos, let me know, because that's kind of my thing. It's my daughter's always Mom, how do you know this stuff? I'm this is the only thing I'm good at, Badger. I have my theater awards right here. So theater and history, the two things that I'm never going to get rich by doing, right? But I love it. I can't help it. And storm chasing. Those are my three things. Oh my God, I'm dying of allergies in the middle of the winter. What the fuck? So I want to do some more history videos. If you guys like that kind of stuff, let me know in the comments. And make sure you like and subscribe. All the formalities, and if we're ready, then let's just go ahead and get to this video. Let's do it. Let's learn about some of the role of women in the Third Reich. But sometimes I think some of these channels end up having a lot of AI pictures, but I don't think this one has as much. I think their thumbnails might have a few, though.
Before delving into the period of the Third Reich, it is worth noting that women had some influence in helping the Nazis rise to power in 1933.
This is true.
After World War I, two major changes took place in Germany.
World War I is my other thing. Just
the proclamation of the Weimar Republic, which marked the end of the German Empire,
the Kaiser,
Bismarck, and the emancipation of women. A slow process, but one that was beginning to take
interesting.
By 1919, the newly created Weimar Constitution.
The Weimar. We're the new Weimar, by the way, here in America.
With universal suffrage,
I hate to say it.
Women could have a voice and a vote in the new Germany that was trying
hell
to
yeah, girl power.
Conditions imposed on the
We're girls in this house.
Not only could they vote, but for the first time in German history, women would occupy seats in Germany's legislative chambers, at least.
You go, girls.
In practice, the reality was quite different.
Yeah, it's usually
held in
usually like that.
9 point.
There's already an ad. We are not even a minute into this video. That's crazy. No, we're exactly a minute. That's crazy, YouTube. That's fucking insane. I'm going to complain every time.
37 out of 460. Although the elected women influenced politics, they could not or did not intend to change traditional values.
Yeah.
For a significant portion of women at the time, including some newly elected deputies, working was acceptable and even preferable. But the most important role for a woman was
being a mother.
The Republic sought to return to conventional roles after years in which men were at war.
They would hate me. They would hate me. I would be like, you can make your own fucking dinner or you can starve. Bye. Like, no thanks. This is why I'm single. I used to be like Miss Traditional. I used to be all like, no, I can totally be a homemaker. Fuck that. I used to want to be a trophy wife so bad. I still kind of do want to be some plastic surgeon's wife, but you know, whatever. He doesn't have to like be around me. Like, I don't need you to like, spend time together? Why? I want a lavender marriage. That's what I want. I want like a lovely gay best friend who like hangs out with me and watches Golden Girls, and then you can go hang out with your boyfriend whenever you want, and I can do my own thing, and you can have companionship and friendship and all of that, and you don't have to deal with these fucking straight men. It's just not the same as it used to be. I'm serious. Like, even when I was younger and like dating, like I haven't dated in 3 years because it's just not the same thing. It's getting dangerous. It's getting really like, so yeah, I understand though that back in those days, this was like what a woman was expected to do. And I think that's just like a societal thing. I don't think necessarily these women were like not the way we see misogyny now, but I think obviously there were. It's weird. It's weird how fast things change.
And women had left the home to work in factories.
Because they had to. They didn't have any men.
Promoting marriage and encouraging women to leave their jobs and return to the home. Women had become accustomed to working and having their own income.
So that would suck. See, I know how that is. I know how that is. But I went into kidney failure. And so now I'm like, dying to go back to work. Literally dying to go back to work. I got my chest tube out. You can still see the scar. But yeah, I still go to dialysis every other day. It takes me a whole day to recover.
Women in the cities wanted to advance in their jobs while young and marry later.
Yeah, my mom was an assistant district attorney when she met my dad. And she was 34 and my dad was 38 when my twin sister and I were born. So that was normal to me. Like, I always thought you had a professional career first. And now I'm 36 and I've never been married, but I do have a kid, so.
Social conflict.
I always thought I'd be married by now, but now I'm like, no, don't even talk. No, I'm in my Golden Girls era.
German Workers' Party, NSADP,
got my girls back here.
The People's Community,
Ouch.
Which sought to eliminate class divisions and shape the aspirations of both men and women in order to achieve a single family and national goal. By the mid-1920s, 7 years after the end of the war, women found themselves stagnating in the labor market. They generally did not
factory jobs,
positions within companies and earned much less than men.
Yeah.
With the Great Depression of 1929, these labor market frustrations intensified. This is where the Nazi Party came into play, proposing that women leave their jobs.
The clarity of these pictures is really amazing.
Public opinion among women had changed by then. Women joined the National Socialist Party with much greater fervor than other parties. The wounds of the First World War.
They really thought that things were going to change for them and get better.
There were still more women than men,
Like Magda.
especially in the cities where electoral tradition was stronger. An example of this is Berlin, where there were 1,116 women for every 1,000 men. In the 1932 federal election,
My daughter's German.
the Nazi Party was the most voted. It won 230
I love Germans.
seats, more than double the previous election.
I like listening to
13
them
million
speak.
votes. Women voted for the Nazis at a slightly higher margin than men. And since there were many more women, they widened the gap between the Nazi Party and its closest opponent.
My daughter's like, why did we do this? I'm like, I don't know, Badger. I don't know why y'all's people picking fights with everybody.
Began an era of horror in Europe, and the most brutal war in human history was not only due to German men, but also to the women who voted with Hitler's speeches in mind.
That's true.
Despite this support, they were the first to be betrayed. When Hitler was elected Chancellor in November of 1933,
We always are.
women in Parliament. During the war, Nazi leaders even considered stripping
They're
women of their
intimidated by us. Another ad. This is actually crazy. This is like every minute there's an ad. That's actually insane. I'm gonna like stop using YouTube. This is the most obnoxious thing that I've ever. Oh my god. We're 4 minutes in and we've already had 2 ads. That's crazy, YouTube. That's unacceptable.
Nazi ideology, a doll in a dollhouse. Now that I've explained how women contributed to the Nazi Party's rise to power through electoral means, it's time to discuss how the betrayal of the rights they had gained over the past 15 years began.
I don't get how people vote against their own interests and then they're surprised when
Bolshevik, English,
their rights get taken away.
Nazi were
I didn't vote for him.
However, there were nuances. Among them, the Nazis could be counted as one of the most conservative. They wanted to return to a purer past in their view, and for that they needed 2 things. Many warrior men to fight in Europe,
Why?
and many
Never
women
mind.
to give birth to those men and raise
I'm not
them
going to
within
start a
the
big political
ideology of a
fight on my
Reich that
page.
was supposed to last 1,000 years. In the words of the great Nazi
Goebbels.
propagandist Joseph Goebbels,
What an ugly man.
the mission of women is to be beautiful and bring children into the world.
Says this rat-looking motherfucker. Look at this little shrimpy-ass little dude. Fucking talk about what women's role being beautiful. Fuck you.
As it seems.
What a piece of shit. I heard he was a total pest, too. I heard he cheated on Magda all the time.
In turn, the male provides food,
And then they
stands
killed their
guard,
kids.
protects her
Come
from
on.
enemies.
What a loser.
Joseph Goebbels. Before joining the Nazi Party, Goebbels studied Germanic studies, classical philology, and history, something that is evident in the quote above. For the
How did someone with those useless fucking like areas of study get successful? I don't.
Minister of Public Enlightenment and Propaganda, a woman was to care for the home while her husband handled external matters, brought food home, and defended the nation to ensure his wife's protection, just as birds
I
do.
don't need your protection.
The bird metaphor.
I would have been put. They would have put me in a
Birds are
camp.
the animals
They
with
wouldn't
the
have liked
highest
me at all. Oh, I have kidney
percentage
failure, so they would have
entire
just
animal
gassed me.
kingdom,
But
something necessary for the Reich to endure.
these people.
Birds are also free and migrate across vast territories within continents or the world.
Really
as the
thought they were
Nazis
something
expected
special
Aryan men
and
women to do once the war was over. In Nazi ideology,
the master race,
men
but we
and women
can't season our
complemented
food or
each other.
dance.
While one fought for the larger world, the state and Europe, the other was to ensure the care of the small world.
I love
the home,
Germans. Oh, I do.
children.
I do.
Thus, each contributed to the integrity of the nation and the future of the Reich.
I live in Kansas. We have a lot of we have a very strong German population here, which I
The
love.
Nazi Party were firmly consolidated in power.
But man, what a
The
dark time in
women
history.
public administration were dismissed.
Probably the
This reduced
darkest.
the number of teachers by 15%, and similar actions were taken with female doctors, lawyers, and women in German state philharmonic orchestras. That same
True.
year, the regime offered a marital loan in the form of a check to
Dirndl.
young couples who wanted to start a family.
Badger has a dirndl.
The loan amounted to 1,000
She wears it
German
at
marks,
Oktoberfest
equivalent
every
to
year.
about 5,750
She's so cute in her little dirndl.
purchasing
Her dad's
power.
family is
It
from
wasn't a fortune,
Bavaria.
but it was certainly a relief for new
Pretty
German
sure.
families hoping to start a home. But the loan was not given out of altruism. It was a measure to promote births among Aryan groups, who were the only ones eligible for the credit. The debt was reduced by 25%.
They are the Hans, that's their last name, Han.
If the couple followed this plan, by the 4th year of marriage with the birth of their final child, they would owe nothing to the Third Reich.
Yeah, didn't they want them to have like 4 kids apiece?
Europe, male settlers would be crucial for Aryanizing each territory. But the martial atmosphere and this separation of roles clashed head-on with reality.
Look at those victory
Starting in
rolls, girl.
1934, just a year after the dismissals, many women gradually returned to teaching. University education was another issue that saw both progress and setbacks. Between 1933 and 1935, 40% of women entered universities, but by the late 1930s, they represented only 10% of the student population.
That's sad.
In 1937, just a year
That
before
reminds
the
me of those
Sudanese
poor women in
crisis and the invasion of
Afghanistan.
Poland,
Oh my God.
Germany was already fully militarized.
I feel so bad for them. I wish there was more, like, I wish there was something we could do.
To the barracks, disrupting state and bureaucratic tasks. To address this problem, the Third Reich forced women to work for a year of unpaid service.
Yeah, they got
both in
conscripted
public administration and in certain private
in
sector
camps in
industries.
SS.
That same year, the marriage loan was abolished.
But I think that was like in more like the the early 40s.
To wear makeup, pants, high heels, dye their hair, or get permanent waves.
Wait.
They were also not a...
Wait, you couldn't? What? Hold on a minute. Play that again.
Further, it was frowned upon for them to wear makeup, pants, high heels, dye their hair, or get permanent waves. They were also not allowed to smoke or drink in public, nor to be too thin, as that was not what German mothers were supposed to do.
No, that's true. When you see the women who people are like, she was so beautiful, or she's like the perfect, it's always like some girl who's like very like, she can carry them babies. You know, that's what they wanted. Oh, that's crazy. I wouldn't know. With me and my acrylic nails and my makeup, I know you guys don't see me like done up, but I'm actually very girly. I'm just poor right now. I'm very girly. Usually I always have my hair cute, or at least a full face of makeup and something cute on, and some heels and shit. But like the past couple years, it's been, I've been too poor. Oh, God, I would not do.
The German population had declined.
Nope.
The Reich's main muscle.
No, this is why MAGA hates me.
Completely atrophied. It was difficult to increase the birth rate with the vast majority.
I'm too much of a bad bitch, sorry.
Fighting for the Reich and far from their wives. This created a new problem for Nazi party leaders, as they could not allow their plans to fail. If there was no population, who
I hate
would
to break it to
continue
you.
the colonization
What
process
is that?
in Eastern Europe? Faced with this
bread,
problem,
or?
some Nazi leaders proposed changing the rules again. All women, married or single, should have 4 racially pure children. In case they already
I'd be
had,
fucked.
men would have the legal
I had
freedom
one
to
kid and my
father
kidneys shut
children
down,
outside
so.
of marriage. However, the Nazis had other problems at the time, so this proposal was never approved. A league to gather them and catch them all, Bund Deutscher Männer.
Deutsche model.
The first
model,
youth movements in
right?
Germany began in 1896, with self-directed young people who had no relationship with adults and their organizations.
Oh, the League of
During the
German
20th
Women or
century,
whatever.
The Berlin student Karl Fischer transformed this movement into the Wandervogel, the migratory or hiking birds, and by 1914, this group had more than
They sure liked
45,000
nature.
members, consisting of boys and girls aged between 14
So it's like the Boy
and 21.
Scouts
For this
and Girl
reason, when
Scouts.
Gustav Lenk founded the National Socialist Youth League in March 1922. No one
Think of
found
those
it
Hitler Youth haircuts.
Youth leagues were common at the time, but no one expected what.
Yeah, that's something that hasn't changed much. White neo-Nazis still have that haircut.
In 1923,
Get with the
some
times.
female youth groups joined the National Socialist Party, and in 1930, an organization
Does that not look like
exclusively for
AI?
females was created.
That looks like AI.
Deutsche Mädel, the League of German Girls. It was a branch of the Hitler Youth. By 1931,
I think some of these pictures are
1,711
cleaned up
young women,
with
led by
AI.
Elizabeth Greif Walden, formed the League of German Girls, uniting the other female groups that existed at the time. On July 17th, 1933,
Oh,
all
God.
youth movements that did not belong to the Hitler Youth were eliminated by law. Their elimination was due to the fact that they went against National Socialist ideals, as was the case with the Wandervogel, which was characterized by its emphasis on freedom.
Oh my God, this is crazy. These ads are crazy.
Hate seeing ads?
These ads, yes, I do actually.
Do you know how much of the content you see on a daily basis are
Thus, some groups were permanently closed, and only church-affiliated movements survived, but at the high cost of being absorbed by the Nazi Party's youth organization, which maintained that all German boys, girls, and teenagers should follow the same path, both physically and spiritually. From 1933 onward, girls between the ages of 14 and 18 directly joined the League of German Girls.
I was in the Young Marines.
Between 10 and 13.
I was honor graduate and platoon guide.
Provided they met the admission requirements, which were being of German
They won't take
origin,
you if you have kidney
holding
disease in the
German
Marine Corps,
citizenship,
so I tried.
being free of hereditary diseases, and having completed the 4th grade. In a sense, it was the Nazi...
4th grade was their standard?
Founded by Robert Baden-Powell. Something the
Sounds
Soviets
right.
also did with the pioneer movement. In March 1934, replacing Greif Walden, the leadership of the League of German Girls was handed to Trude Moore, a young woman enrolled in the party since 1928.
Damn.
Moore was responsible for the creation of this same group in Brandenburg in 1930. The activities of the female league included skiing, hiking, campfires,
It's indoctrination.
German folk songs, folk dances, and more. In addition to these activities, the young women carried out health service or social service, which involved helping within the community, assisting farmers, and aiding the less fortunate. Additionally, the girls practiced rhythmic gymnastics.
The less fortunate.
a sport
You're putting
promoted
those
by the
people in
Nazi Party
camps.
of women, as it encouraged the harmony of their bodies. During the winter, they gathered to sew, knit, or engage in other types of crafts. As for fashion,
Ugh.
there were also very puritanical restrictions.
Oh,
for the
I would
girls,
not do well.
Although it wasn't much different
They wouldn't
from
like
other
me.
scouting movements of the time.
I'm too much of a
Within
harlot.
the Hitler Youth, they were not allowed to wear high heels, silk stockings, makeup, jewelry, rings, or wristwatches.
Wait, people were attracted to this?
Uniform consisted of a
People
navy blue
wanted
skirt,
to, like,
a white
join
blouse,
this? Hell
with
no.
a leather knot.
Doesn't sound like
While
fun
in
at
winter,
all.
They could wear blue pants, a brown jacket, and
Life
sometimes a
is a
black beret.
cabaret,
If a
old
teenage girl stood
chum.
out for her skills
That's how
or
I would be.
leadership in the league, she had better chances of going
I'd be
to
like
university
Sally
or finding
Bowles.
a job. However, after completing that stage, all girls in the league had to perform a year of social service
Blech.
tasks as diverse as working in the fields or caring for children in a daycare.
Bunch of lame
From
asses, if you
1936
ask
onward,
me.
Membership in the League of German Girls was mandatory. When the war began in 1938, the duties of these young women changed. They entertained the troops stationed in the rear.
I'm too
assisted
fun.
with first aid,
I'm way too
carried
fun to
hospitals, received
ever
wounded
be down with
soldiers
these
at train
people.
stations, and supported people left homeless after the bombings. The League of German Girls had
I mean, it's kinda
4.5
y'all's
million members
fault.
in 1944.
Oh, damn, my
It was the
scar
largest
is like...
female youth organization in the world at that time. A year later, when the Red Army entered Berlin, many young women from the League joined the National Labor Front to defend Berlin, becoming cannon fodder.
There are a couple of those
Finally,
League
on
of German
October 10th,
girls who ended up
the League
working in
of German
concentration
Girls
camps
was
and then they got
officially
hung.
dissolved by the Allied Control Council. Eugenics. Mothers and nurses building the Aryan man.
Blech.
The
Men have had
Charles
enough
Darwin
support,
identified
okay? We don't need to
species
fucking
in the
give them
19th century by
anymore.
British sociologist Herbert Spencer as the basis for developing his sociological theories, which held that just as evolution postulated that the fittest survived in nature, only the fittest should survive in society.
Man,
Spencer
shut
argued
up.
that changes could be promoted in society that would, over time, shape natural selection to our advantage, improving the human race.
Shit happens. We don't have control over that.
As you can imagine, eugenics was incredibly important to the Nazis. On the continent, French
Why didn't they just show the U.S.? Wait a minute, I just saw Kansas. What was that?
Identified Germans and Nordics as
What was
people
that?
with elongated skulls, tall stature, blue or grey eyes, and fair hair. William Z. Ripley and
Was that
Houston
Thomas
Stewart
Kretschmann?
Chamberlain expanded on what Denneker and Spencer proposed, becoming racialist and white
Looks like him.
supremacist theorists who were at the forefront of National Socialist ideology. To raise the
Garing.
Aryans of the future,
Garing.
great men were needed, but also great women. avoiding anything they considered racial contamination. But eugenics wasn't limited to racial purity. On July 14th, 1933...
Man, some of these Nazis had some ugly-ass wives.
It's
because they weren't even allowed to wear makeup. Fuck that.
Hereditary diseases, Gesetz zur Verhütung Erbkrankheitswuchses, was passed, creating a hereditary health court. This court was responsible for forcibly
I would be
sterilizing
so
people with
fucked.
anything considered hereditary deficiencies.
I'd be so
thereby
fucked. I'd be so fucked. Look at me.
contaminating elements in the
I would be so fucked. This is fucking crazy. This is crazy. I hope this channel is getting a lot of fucking ad revenue for all the fucking ads they make me fucking click through. Jesus.
Aryan race. But this Nordicist idea...
I'm sorry, I'm never watching this channel again on my reaction channel ever.
As Himmler's SS progressively created
It's not their fault.
populations
YouTube!
to ensure the expansion of the Aryan race. In addition to the supports for families mentioned earlier, there were direct supports...
I'm sorry,
for
these
healthy
people think
Aryan
they're the master race, okay.
December 12th,
Whatever.
1935, the
Oh, little
Lebensborn
baby.
Registered
Oh,
Association
Lebensborn. Look at little baby.
Eingetragener Verein was founded. This family welfare program provided
Oh,
maternity
good.
homes where women could give birth and receive social assistance during and after childbirth, as well as financial or social assistance to the wives.
It didn't last very long, if I remember.
The program accepted
Right.
unmarried pregnant women and people not linked to the SS, as long as they were considered racially valuable. Additionally, nurses played a fundamental role during
a lot of
Nazism in
blondes.
implementing the Reich's eugenic and Nordicist ideas. To maintain control and ensure that births were pure, the Nazi regime carried out the Action T4 program. This infamous program's mission was to systematically murder all children with physical or psychological
sad.
conditions. Specialized units were
Poor
created
babies.
for this purpose, and their agents were Nazi nurses or midwives who were required to report births and inform
Sad.
their superiors if a child was born with a disability.
We're literally on the way there. We have to be so careful. We've already taken women's right to make her own healthcare decisions away from her.
Once a child with certain conditions was born,
And this is
their
the
job
next
was to
step.
persuade parents by explaining the
I need to get my kidney soon.
and best care that Nazi doctors would offer their
Especially since we're probably going to lose our healthcare.
spaces where they ultimately died. Starting in 1939, Hitler authorized a large-scale massacre.
I can't wait to live in the Fourth Reich.
Physical and mental disabilities. Many were sent to concentration camps to test the gas
Fucking
chambers
Donald
that
Trump.
would later
Where's
be
my
used in the
chopstick?
Holocaust. By 1941, people with conditions were killed by other methods, such as lethal injections of air or medication, oral overdoses, and
Oh my god,
starvation.
could you imagine them
Each was
putting air
carried
in your
out by
fucking
Nazi
eye? Oh my
nurses under
god.
doctor's orders. Hedwig Potthast and Lena Heydrich.
Oh, she's the lady that hooked up with Himmler. Or, sorry.
The officers of the German Secret
Yeah.
Service are well known, but they also had wives and lovers who are less recognized.
Right?
Two
Himmler.
of them are Hedwig
Yeah.
Potthast and Lena Heydrich. Hedwig
Reinhard
Potthast
Heydrich.
was a woman who was a member of the League of German Girls. After finishing high school, she enrolled in the Mannheim Business School.
That's a really
to train
German
as a
name, Reinhard
private
Heydrich.
secretary. There, she eventually met Heinrich Himmler in 1934, who offered her a job in Berlin in the state offices of the secret police. Eventually,
He already had a
in
wife.
1938,
She was really old.
She became his lover. For a man of such importance to be openly unfaithful was an affront to German
Put my
society
makeup
at
on
the
because
time.
fuck the
In an
Nazis.
attempt to clean up his image, Himmler tried to justify his extramarital relationship with Potthast by allowing SS men to have children outside of marriage, including himself.
That's why he just wanted to have a
German
girlfriend.
society and the upper echelons also condemned
Bunch of
this,
hypocrites,
but that
bro. They
lasted
are.
Potthast
They
for
always
97
are.
children with Himmler. By 1941,
How many? Damn.
Himmler took Hedwig out of the rented apartment where she lived and installed her in a villa that the SS had built for her.
Installed her in a villa.
Financed by an 80,000 mark loan that Himmler took out. There are differing opinions on whether Potthast, who was Himmler's secretary, or even his wife, Margaret, had any knowledge of his involvement in the final solution.
I'm sure they
The
did.
course of the war limited contact between Himmler and Hedwig, as they managed to see each other for the last time in mid-March of 1945, and from then on they kept in touch through phone calls. Himmler was arrested by the British on May 21st and committed suicide 2 days later.
Loser.
Potthast found out, she left her home in Aachensee
What a chicken
and went
shit.
with her children to the Pole family's house in Rosenheim, where she was arrested at the end of June by the United States Army. However,
Hell yeah,
she was
that's my
soon released
grandpa.
after claiming she had nothing to do
He
with
was in the
Hitler's
Sherman
affairs
tanks.
or ideology. She then moved to Teissendorf, adopted a different name.
She was his secretary and she's going to claim she didn't know.
Baden in 1994. Another partner of the great SS leaders is Lena Mathilde von Osten, a vocal National Socialist activist who eventually married Reinhard Heydrich.
Reinhard
Until
Heydrich.
then had little interest in Nazism. That same year, Lena convinced him to join the SS.
Oh, she convinced
Heydrich
him.
joined
Interesting.
the Nazi Party on June 1st, 1931, and secured an interview with Heinrich Himmler, during which he was offered a job. By August 1st, just 15 days after joining the SS,
This guy is like
Sicherheitsdienst der
very German.
SD, the SS Intelligence Service. By the end of the year, he was again promoted to Sturmbannführer.
Sturmbannführer. They did have really nice uniforms. Got that Hugo Boss on them. My sister didn't know that Hugo Boss designed their uniforms.
Himmler gave the Reich
I was like,
a bad
yeah.
image because of his infidelity. Heydrich gave it a bad image for allowing his wife's infidelities. It is said that Reinhard Heydrich was a workaholic to the point that he completely neglected his marriage and rarely slept at home. It is also said that Lena Heydrich was unfaithful to him with Walter Schellenberg and the painter Wolfgang Wilrich.
Well, I mean, if he was never
On
there.
July 4th, 1942,
A girl's
Heydrich
gotta
died
do
from
something.
wounds sustained on May 27th during an assassination attempt carried out by Czech commandos in Prague on his way to his office.
They could have saved him if they would have
Lena
used
was pregnant with
penicillin.
their daughter, Marta. Because of her husband's death in action, Lena, who had become something of a Reich widow, received a lifetime pension from the government, continued to enjoy her residence on
Wow,
the
look at
outskirts
that.
of Prague, and was given a palace as a permanent residence.
Prague.
in
I
Finland.
bet that's so pretty. This is actually out of control. This is crazy. This is nuts. This is actually crazy.
At the end of the war, Lena was arrested and denied having any knowledge of the
YouTube
infamous
is
acts
fucking
her husband
garbage
had been
now.
involved in.
Sorry, it is.
After her release, she moved to Fehmarn with her 4 children. Germany's First Lady, the life of Magda Goebbels.
Ooh, that was a long title.
One of the most influential women in the National Socialist Party was Johanna Maria Magdalena, better known as Magda Goebbels. At the age of 17, Magda met Gunther Quandt, a widowed and wealthy German industrialist who had 2 young children. Quandt
She was a
courted
gold
Magda
digger.
until they married on January 4th, 1921. 10 months later, on November 1st, their first child, Harold, was born. However, the luxurious life she led with Quandt was not enough, as constant arguments and accusations of adultery, which were never proven, led to the end of their relationship. In 1929, Quandt filed for divorce, leaving a generous amount of money in the settlement for his
Well,
now
nice of him, I guess.
Afterward, Magda and her son Harold moved to Berlin, where thanks to her youth, beauty,
She didn't have
and
very good
financial
taste in men, huh?
position, she had no trouble integrating into Berlin's upper class. On September 1st, 1930, she attended an electoral rally of the National Socialist Party at Berlin's Sports Palace, where Joseph Goebbels delivered a speech. Goebbels'
Sports
oratory and
Palace.
rhetoric impressed Magda, leading her to join the party that same month, where she volunteered for some time and quickly became a local leader. This caught the attention of the National Socialists, who decided to move her to headquarters as the secretary to Deputy Hans Meinshausen, who was close to Goebbels. There, Goebbels asked Magda to organize his newspaper article archives. Soon they began a relationship. On December 19, 1931, Magda married Goebbels, and they subsequently had 6 children: Helga, Heidel, Helmuth, Holder, Hedda, and Haida. Each name began with H, something attributed to the reverence that both
Got it.
Magda and Goebbels had for the leader of the Reich.
That's crazy.
By 1938,
It's like the people who
Magda
have
was
Donald
practically
Trump
the
birthdays
first
for their
lady of the
kids.
Reich, despite being married to Goebbels.
How
Magda
embarrassing.
had the honor of being awarded the newly created Mother's Cross of Honor of the German Mother, from which point she became a role model promoted by the Nazis for all women of the Reich. In 1942, she and her children were filmed and photographed.
That's sad what happened to those kids.
They were the ideal Aryan family. Her popularity was so high that her children
Oh, those
appeared
poor
34
babies.
times in the news that same year. However, this was only a facade, as the marriage between Goebbels and Magda was falling apart. Both had lovers
What was
and
that?
were adulterous, and Goebbels almost moved to Japan to live with his lover. The Chancellor himself forced
He
them to
almost moved to
reconcile.
Japan. None
Disastrous for Germany. When the July 20th, 1944 assassination attempt, also known as Operation Valkyrie, occurred, Magda was at her country house on Lake Schwanenwerder.
Schwanenwerder.
Resident since the bombings in Berlin began. Upon learning of the assassination attempt, she had a nervous breakdown and telephoned Hitler to swear eternal loyalty to him.
What a crazy person.
To die for him.
She's insane.
The Führer was so great that on April 22nd, 1945, she moved with her 6 children to the bunker where Hitler was, joining her husband.
The brainwashing is like...
The promise she made to her idol.
And we're always like, I wonder how that could happen. And we're literally watching it happen to people now.
Addressed to her eldest son, Harold.
Oh, you people are embarrassing.
May God help me.
How can people be so gullible and easily indoctrinated? I don't get it. Use your critical thinking skills a little.
Loyalty to the Führer, even in death. Harold, my dear son, I want to leave you with what I have learned in life. Be loyal. Loyal to yourself, loyal to the people, and loyal to your country.
Could you imagine, like, everybody just being offed by your mom, and you're the only one who made it?
Magda killed her children.
That's from the movie Gertrud Gang. I actually watched that literally yesterday.
Gardens of the Chancellery as a testament to her loyalty to Hitler. Germany's husband, the women who loved Hitler.
Germany's husband. Blah, it's like how people called Trump daddy.
Until the end can be measured. Reich crossed Berlin with Rubble through Soviet artillery fire.
With his melting spray tan and his fucking syphilis brain. You know that's why he's all like, because he has syphilis, right? Duh, I thought everyone knew that. Pretty sure, yeah. I'm just gonna keep that there.
Von Greim decided to swallow the poison and detonate a grenade at the same time, just before the Russians arrived.
Yeah, he killed his whole family with grenades.
April 28th, Hitler ordered Hanna and von Greim to leave Berlin and take command of the Air Force to carry out a bombing raid that would liberate the Chancellery and stop Himmler, who had committed an
They added that into Gertrud Gang as well.
Despite Soviet troops being outside, Hanna and von Greim obeyed the Führer's orders.
Oh yeah, Hanna, that lady, she was a pilot.
They learned from him that Hitler had committed suicide and that the war was nearing its end.
So he wasn't...
This news, Reich and von Greim surrendered to the Allies on May 9th, 2 days after Germany's surrender.
Yeah.
Both were interrogated by the Americans who had yet to recover Hitler's body.
It's true.
When asked about the order to leave the Führer bunker on April 28th, they both gave the same response. It was the blackest day. We could not die alongside our Führer, Hanna added. We must all kneel in reverence and prayer before the altar of the fatherland.
Isn't that the lady from the
Later,
movie?
In 1970, during the
Man, they did good casting for her.
Hanna stated that she was not ashamed to say she still believed in National Socialism. And she also confessed that she could...
Like, literally, the girl who played her in the movie looks just like her. That's crazy. They used a picture from the movie earlier, so I'm like...
But more common than one might think.
Very surprised.
Hitler often said that his wife was Germany as an excuse not to marry. However, it is very likely that he avoided marriage to maintain the image of being eternally single, thus remaining the platonic love of millions of women.
I dated a guy who was in a band and he thought he needed to seem single so that his fans would stay around. I'm like, then your band's not that good.
Something that became a daily security issue for the Führer. It was also common for women to write him letters on all sorts of topics, but they often escalated into erotic letters. Hitler believed that being an unattainable leader helped maintain the
how embarrassing.
love that women had for him. This is why he did not marry Eva Braun until 1945. Just 1 day before his death.
The fact she put up with that.
The relationship dated back to before the Nazi Party won the elections in 1932. Gertrud Scholtz-Klink, the woman who shaped other women during Nazism. So far, we have mentioned that the family was very important for Nazism and that women were considered the pillar of the family. It is time to delve deeper into this topic. To begin with, we must mention the 5 rules or commandments for modeling the role of the German woman according to Nazism.
Oh, I would hate this.
Remember, you are German. 2. If you are genetically healthy, your duty is to marry. 3. Keep your body pure. 4. Keep your mind and spirit pure. 5. As a German, choose only a spouse from your country or countries with Nordic blood. The women's school was founded in the year 1934, and its main function was the training and courses in subjects considered of special interest by Nazi leaders: domestic economy, household management, child education, or the preservation of traditional customs and practices. One of the most influential women within the women's school...
Like, if you're only sticking to white guys, you're missing out.
...who who in 1930 held her first
Just
position as
saying.
head of the National Socialist Women of Baden, and during the 1932 electoral campaign, established ties with other women's organizations. Scholtz-Klink was known for providing jobs to the unemployed, securing food and clothing for the poor, and creating a group of volunteers to help girls.
They're so concerned about helping the poor, and then they're like gassing people. I don't.
To introduce her to the Ministry of the Interior, where she became the head of
We gotta help people in our own country
A month
first.
later, on February
fuck up.
24th, 1934,
You weren't doing
she was
shit for
appointed
people
by
in your own
Hitler as
country.
president of the National Socialist Women's League, where she took charge of all German women's organizations. In 1936, Scholtz-Klink reached an agreement with Himmler to create a bride school aimed at selecting young women who were going to marry members of the SS.
A bride school? Fuck that.
Schwarzwälder, very close to Berlin. The first bride school was established.
It's like when you have to go to counseling for when you get married in the Catholic Church.
Skills, ranging from
Marriage marriage
childcare to concepts of gardening,
guidance or
livestock,
some
and
shit.
agriculture, even interior design. Additionally, they were taught manners to behave properly at social events, rules for maintaining proper conversation, and basic knowledge of race and
I'm
genetics.
Catholic, so I went to Catholic school. I understand the indoctrination, but that doesn't mean I agree with it.
The Tree of Life, which was considered an essential guide for their lives. In May of 1944, women had taken on new roles in factory jobs and as military auxiliaries due to the exhaustion caused by the war in German society. This prompted Scholtz-Klink to change her rhetoric. It was no longer about women as the foundation of the home, as it had been at the start of the war. But now they had a greater obligation that required combining the well-known household duties with a contribution to the war effort, both in the army and in heavy industry.
This is insane. Like, this is actually crazy. Why can't I skip it? Let me skip this. This is craziness. I hate this. I hate this. I hate this.
The SS kittens, spies and prostitutes in the Third Reich.
Kittens!
We've already discussed the role of women as wives of SS members, but
But not their girlfriends.
Members of the organization commanded by Himmler.
Wait, what's the date
Every
today?
prospective SS
Oh shit, what happened? Why did it stop?
woman had to
Sorry.
belong first, of course, to the League of German Girls. Recruitment ads in the newspapers were quite convincing, telling women there was no better way to show their love for the Reich than by joining the SS. Naturally, many women signed up for the recruitment drives. These were generally women from middle or lower class backgrounds with various
Surprise.
professions, such as midwives, hairdressers, tram
The hairdresser is Elizabeth Volkenrath. They bring her up a lot. She got executed because she was she worked at.
were trained in Lichtenberg, Germany, attending courses that lasted between
Where did she work? She worked at Bergen-Belsen, I
training
think,
as rigorous and demanding as that of the men.
and Auschwitz.
Starting in 1939, women began the induction phase at Ravensbrück camp,
Ravensbrück.
a model concentration camp, where they were transformed into feared killers. Upon completing their training, the new soldiers were incorporated into
This
the
is something
SS,
I know a lot about, actually.
the female branch of the SS, which was limited to voluntary work in the Nazi
Okay,
special
so the tall lady is Gotha, I think her name is. She ended up making it and living until she was like 90 something. This lady right here, Joanna Bormann, she was the lady with the dogs, and she got executed by Albert Pierpoint. And then this is Elizabeth Volkenrath, the hairdresser, who was also executed by Pierpoint. And then somewhere in here is Irma Gresa, who was known as the hyena of Auschwitz, and she was one of the most brutal sadists of the war. Hold on one second. Oh my God, sorry, my doctor's office called. My doctor's office called, and it was really important because I just had my parathyroid removed, and my calcium is crazy low, so they needed me to do some things for my calcium. But sorry, I had to stop recording so that we could I could answer that phone call, because my doctor's office doesn't call me unless I have an appointment, and I don't have one for another week. So I was like, there must I keep biting my tongue and it hurts. At dialysis, they take my blood and, yeah, so apparently my labs weren't great. Anyway, but this chick right here, her Tabotha was like 6'3". They said she was the tallest woman that they had arrested at the end of the war. Anyway, this is something I kind of know a lot about.
The SS women handled auxiliary communications, telephone operators.
Like, I work at a prison, but those are criminals, like people who have like murdered people. That's from a movie. I don't like it when they keep showing pictures from movies. This right here in the middle, that's Irma Gresa. She got hung.
However, these were not the only paramilitary organizations of the Third Reich. As when the war began in 1939,
but they were in charge of people who didn't do anything wrong.
The German population.
So I just can't wrap my head around that. Like, I keep criminals in prison. These people were just being sadists to innocent civilians, and I don't understand that at all.
Among these brothels was the Kitty's Salon, frequented by many well-known public figures, diplomats, foreigners, and National Socialist regime officials. One of the notable figures who loved infiltrating these brothels was Walter Schellenberg, head of Gestapo counterintelligence, who believed that intimate moments provided highly effective information.
You know, all these men are probably just like littered with STDs.
So that the government could take it into account and be able to meet the expectations of the people, as well as to root out any potential dissent before it could.
There's a lot of pictures from movies in this video. It's kind of getting on my nerves.
3 female profiles of sadism and horror in Nazi concentration camps. Hitler's men were methodically perverse, but what about the women? It is said that there were at least 3,700 women who worked as guards in concentration camps.
This girl, Annalise Coleman, on the far side, was she had the pants on. She was actually dressed like a prisoner and was trying to get away with it.
Margareta Ilse Kohler,
this crazy bitch,
the bitch of Buchenwald, was born on September 22nd,
the
1906, into a middle-class family.
She was fucking crazy.
Dresden, Saxony. In
this is the master race right here.
Much of her methods of torture are attributed to being taught by her husband Karl Koch, SS colonel and commander of the Buchenwald concentration camp. At first, Ilse demanded that the prisoners call her gnädige Frau, gracious lady, and soon she began strolling around the camp with
I'd rather she can just shoot me in the head.
She did not hesitate to use against those whose appearance even slightly displeased her. Eventually, her cruelty knew no bounds, as she made the concentration camps her favorite playground for her macabre games,
what a dumb
reaching
bitch.
Extreme levels of sadism. The bitch of Buchenwald would unleash dogs on pregnant women, beat prisoners who looked at
You know what? It sucks because I'm kind of atheist. I'm a little bit of an atheist, so I believe that like nothing happens to these people, and I just feel like they should suffer as much as they made people suffer, and I just don't know if I believe that happens, you know? And it's just really a shame. I kind of believe that the lights just go out. That's because I've coded before and it was just blackness and nothing and like being under anesthesia, so I don't know.
She ordered prisoners to strip so that she could examine their skin.
I'm kind of in the middle of an existential crisis.
Victims of the day. The skin was used to create horrendous accessories such as lampshades, gloves.
I heard that's actually possibly not true. But she did save people's tattoos.
In Augsburg on January 15th, 1951, to life imprisonment with hard labor in the women's prison of Eichach. However, on September 1st, 1967, at the age of 61, she committed suicide in prison.
Good riddance.
Ich kann nicht anders. Der Tod ist für mich eine Erlösung. There is no other way for me. Death is my only release. Irma Gresa.
Oh, that's who I was talking about.
Angel of Auschwitz and the beautiful beast, was born in Reich.
She was actually called the hyena of Auschwitz, I'm pretty sure.
Into a dysfunctional
she wasn't the angel. There was a nurse who was the angel. There's a lot of like wrong information in this video.
Irma decided to drop out of school due to a lack
that wasn't her, by the way.
In March of 1942, at the age of 19, she managed to volunteer at Ravensbrück concentration camp after a failed previous attempt, where she began her training. By March of 1943, Irma Gresa was transferred to Auschwitz and assigned to the concentrationslager KL of Birkenau, where at first she was
That's not her either, that's a movie.
Supplies, handling mail and overseeing the Strassenbahn
Pretty sure.
Commando,
I don't know who that girl was.
unit. However, in the fall of that same year, Gresser was promoted to SS Oberaufseherin. SS.
Yeah, that's from a movie, I'm pretty sure.
Promotion
It's
not
not
only
her.
put her in charge of 30,000 Jewish inmates, mostly
Movie.
Polish and Hungarian women, but also allowed her to select those condemned to the gas chamber.
Movie.
The beautiful beast was feared for her countless methods of torture, the most common being
Doggy.
unleashing her dogs on prisoners
Movie.
to have them torn apart, murdering inmates by shooting them in cold blood, and beating and sexually abusing children. She also sought out Jewish women with attractive figures to mutilate their breasts, and then subject them to painful operations, which she watched with
There's
great
a lot of
excitement.
movie pictures in this. I don't know why they can't just
Auschwitz-Birkenau
use...
was not the only concentration camp to suffer from Irma Gresser's sadism. For a brief period from January to March of 1945, she returned
Why
to
don't they, like,
Regensburg
put
camp
what
before
movie
being
these
sent to
are?
Bergen-Belsen, near Hanover, Germany. She was arrested on April 15th, 1945, and on the 54th day of her trial,
I don't
the
really
British
get the
tribunal
beautiful
found her
part,
guilty of
but...
the following charges: committing war crimes at the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp in Germany and at Auschwitz in Poland between October 1st, 1942 and April 30th, 1945. The court sentenced her to hang on December 13th, 1945 at the age of 20.
Good!
Her last words were
22,
"Schnell,
right?
quick." Another example of the sadism of
She's like, get this
Nazi
shit
women
over
who
with.
worked in the camps is Maria Mandel, also known as the Beast of Auschwitz.
This crazy bitch.
She was born on January 10th, 1912 in the Austrian town of Münzkirchen, a municipality in
Were
the
people
German
born in
eastern
this time
part of
period
Austria.
just like...
On October 15th, 1938, she managed to join the Lichtenberg Detention Center as an Aufseherin, guard, one of the first
like something
violent
wrong with
camps in
them,
Nazi Germany, located in Pritten, which became a subcamp of Ravensbrück in May of 1939. In this extermination camp, Maria strictly
I was
supervised
surprised
the
to find out how many
work tasks that the
concentration camps
prisoners
there
had to
really
carry
were.
out. And if any failed to meet expectations,
That's
she
sad.
inflicted all kinds of whippings and torture, condemning them to death. Her obsessive dedication to enforcing rules...
Those are
in the
real
women's
videos.
detention
That's
camp
really
led her,
sad.
From the fall of 1941 to the spring of 1942.
Like, how could you do this stuff to,
condemn
like,
countless
babies?
prisoners for actions deemed crimes
And old
prohibited
people.
within the camp. Walking
Sad.
arm in arm
These
down
poor
camp
people.
streets, visiting sick prisoners in the infirmary, staying outside the block without orders, or speaking or looking at a
Sad.
superior without permission. Mandel's favorite torture was to beat and kick prisoners in the abdomen or face while wearing gloves. However, these were not her only methods of torture, as one of the most atrocious was her selection of guinea pigs, where she grouped the fittest prisoners for painful operations and experiments, which in the medium term caused permanent disabilities in the captives she selected.
Sad.
The procedures involved the removal of nerves and muscles from the thigh or
Oh my
calf
God.
for experimentation.
My femoral artery ruptured, and it was the most painful thing that's ever happened to me, and I couldn't even fucking imagine. I have nerve damage permanently in my leg. It's messed up. I couldn't walk for like 2 years.
Some survivors of these macabre
I couldn't imagine. Ugh.
Attention all internet users. Stop seeing ads for
I hope you're making a lot of fucking money off of all of the ads I'm having to fucking click through, because your video has a lot of AI and a lot of movie videos in it, so.
procedures took months to recover, and many lost their limbs or their
Sorry, I didn't mean to snap.
In April of 1943,
Oh my
Mandel
God.
created the first Auschwitz Women's Orchestra, composed of prisoners solely
What a
to satisfy
psycho.
her love of music. The captives had to play for her while Mandel selected who would go to the gas chamber.
What a dumb
She
bitch.
also used music when separating the healthy from the sick and when welcoming new prisoners. On August 10th, 1945, Mandel was arrested by the Americans, who extradited her to Poland, where a Krakow court sentenced her to hang. She died on January 24th, 1948, at the age of 36. Her last words were, "Long live Poland." The
What?
war after the war. The fate of German women in the early days of occupation. After the fall of Berlin by the Allied troops,
I wonder if they
German women
talk
faced a
about the
series of
Studhouse
atrocities.
guards.
From the moment Soviet, French, and American troops set foot on the territory, soldiers began to sexually abuse women without regard to age.
Oh no.
They assaulted them in their own homes. This is a war tactic as old as history itself.
Which is why I'm always
The
armed.
20th century was alarming. The abuses by the soldiers were constant and occurred several times a day.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
This led many women to commit suicide,
That's sad.
suffer horrific injuries, sexually transmitted diseases, and pregnancies. The majority of German women between 8 and 80 years old suffered these outrages. It is recorded that
There's a lot of
between
pictures
April
from movies
17th
in
and
this.
18th, 1945, 500 women were assaulted and raped in the small town of Freudenstadt.
They're cutting her hair off because she slept with a Nazi, probably.
600 women in Brussels and 385 in the Lake Constance area. Before reaching Stuttgart, French troops from these contingents violated another 1,198 women and even 8 German men. That same year, the village clinic in Karlsruhe recorded 276.
When I did forensics, like when you had to do debate in forensics, I did a monologue about a girl who
American forces banned rape,
got paraded through the streets because she slept with an SS officer.
Soldiers. This was not the case for women on the Soviet side.
I added history and theater.
To be humiliated and raped even after the war. The British did not openly rape like the French and Soviets, but they used their power to trade food or cigarettes for sexual favors. Because the war's advance and scorched earth policies had left Germany in ruins, many women had no choice but to resort to these favors. The Americans, who soon had much control over access to food, also resorted to these types of...
Yeah, there were some that got hung or firing squad executed for it.
The destruction that followed the defeat was...
Surprised they didn't talk about the Studhof guards who got hung. She's so cute.
As revenge for the bombing in London and as a way to punish the population.
The girl who did the traffic directing or whatever, the little Soviet girl. I just watched a video about her.
Of the 16 million homes in the country,
Damn.
25% were in ruins, and another
Fucked
25% were in a state of disrepair.
God.
In divided Berlin, 10% of the buildings
All those beautiful
were
buildings, that makes me really sad.
This was less damage compared to the outlying districts. In Mitte, Kreuzberg, Friedrichshain, Prenzlauer Berg,
It's too bad.
Tiergarten, and Wedding, the percentage of destroyed buildings reached 30%. The same was true in Dresden, which was completely devastated, or in Frankfurt, which had to be entirely rebuilt after the war.
Wow.
The Rubble women were aged between 15 and 50 and were forced by the Allied Council to help clear debris. Most of the men who had been on the front lines had survived.
What a daunting task.
The work of these women consisted of picking up rubble with their hands to pile it into buckets or wheelbarrows, removing the remains of buildings with hand winches or...
It would take forever.
Then they had to dismantle the pieces of walls without breaking the bricks, so that they could be reused in new constructions.
Jeez.
Wood, steel beams, pipes, and other household items were collected to be reused by women across the country.
That gives me anxiety.
Rubble, which could not
I don't know
be
why.
used for the reconstruction of homes or buildings, was transported in wheelbarrows or buckets to fill the holes left by the bombs in the streets. In the case of women in the Western Zone, in the future Federal Republic of Germany, they were rewarded for doing this work with a little more food. More symbolically, they also received the highest ration.
Man, all those beautiful buildings, that's really sad.
700 calories per day. To give an example, American soldiers received about 1,500 calories.
It's like what I ate when I was anorexic.
Currently, the WHO recommends consuming between 1,600 and 3,000 calories each day.
Yeah.
Women on the Soviet side were less fortunate and much closer to starvation. Eventually, the men were released from prisoner camps.
Yeah, Stalin wasn't great either.
Peace had been signed, and the Third Reich had fallen. This was a detailed account of the story of German women during Nazi Germany, partially inspired by the book Valkyries, Women of the Third Reich by Miguel del Rey and Carlos Canales Torres, and the book Nazi Guardians, The Female Side of Evil by Monica Garcia Alvarez.
I need to check that out.
I can't say that, like...
Literally, there's not even, like, a few seconds left of this fucking video. Oh, my God. Okay, it was over, and they still had to show an ad? That's insane. YouTube, this is out of control. This is actually crazy. Anyway, well, I hope you guys... I keep biting my fucking tongue. And it keeps hurting I keep hurting myself. I hope you guys enjoyed that and found that as informative as I did. That was a much longer video than I expected it to be, so it's probably going to take me a little while to put it together because my doctor's office had to call me in the middle of it. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I always find history stuff to be very interesting. That's kind of my thing. I'm sure I'll go through another hyperfixation pretty soon and we'll watch something about that too. So, all right, guys. Well, I'll just catch you in my next video. I will see you next time. I love you. Bye.